Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a move update that has gone majorly under the radar, but I think it's one of the best updates of Season 18, and that is Water Pulse on Mantine. Now that Water Pulse is buffed, it is Mantine's highest damage per energy move in neutral situations, allowing it to gain a little bit of consistency in those neutral matchups, while also functioning better as a true water type and having a move to hit the steals. You do lose super effective coverage against the dragons, but against Altaria and the Zeros and against Shadow Dragonair, you can still win those matchups straight Aerial Ace. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Water Pulse Mantine in action. Hopping into the first match, leading Mantine into Shadow Alolan Sandslash. At first, this does look like a core breaker for the team, as Sandslash can hit for neutral damage into the Mantine and super effective damage into the Goodra. I'm staying in this lead, going to fire off the Water Pulse. The Water Pulse connects, dealing heavy damage to the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash is going to be firing off another Ice Punch. Mantine able to hang on, make it to the Aerial Ace, and actually win the Zero Shields now versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash. They're forced to commit a shield. I can send in Whiscash. I'm more than happy to fully commit to a farm down and then trust in 2-shield Goodra to try and win this game. I get the full farm down. Opponent sends in Araquanid. I've got to switch out of here. I send in Goodra. Araquanid staying in this matchup, so whatever they have in the back is not a massive fan of a Goodra up energy and up shields. The Power Whip will connect. Araquanid have tended to run more of the Water Pulse Bug Buzz moveset. They are going to full send the Bug Buzz, but they do get the defense drop. Thankfully, they're unable to make it to a move. And now, in the back, we see they have a Feraligatr. Feraligatr will be met with an Aqua Tail bait. I'm just going to try and make it to the back-to-back Aqua Tails as I'm unable to make it to a Power Whip, but this is going to do some very helpful damage to potentially allow me to close the game with the Whiscash. Whiscash has the back-to-back Mud Bombs. If Feraligatr had back-to-back Hydro Cannons, they could win this game, but unfortunately for my opponent, they are short of the energy needed. So I can go for Mud Bomb number 1 and Mud Bomb number 2. We're able to take the win, in large part due to the fact of the shield advantage that Mantine was able to grab from that Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Moving into the next match, picking up a very nice lead, Mantine versus Shadow Feraligatr. Shadow Feraligatr choosing to stay in this matchup. This works out great for me. I'm firing off the Aerial Ace. They don't have to shield this if they don't want to. They let it through, and this should be a crunch. They farmed up 6 Shadow Claws, and there's the crunch. Thankfully, it does not get the debuff. I'm able to outpace, make it to the Aerial Ace. If they shield, I'm going to be save switching into Goodra. In comes the Goodra. Goodra able to get a couple Dragon Breaths through, getting this lower and lower. So maybe I can potentially even farm it down with my Whiscash if I need to later on. In comes a Shadow Machamp. I fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to be shielded. Unfortunately, Goodra's bulk actually works against me here, as my opponent gets so much farm with that Machamp. They have 2 Cross Chops. I have 2 shields. I decide, you know what, I don't know what they have in the back, but I think having energy on Mantine will be helpful. So I'm going to double shield, look to farm down, and just watch the top right. If they send in Feraligatr, I'm not going to throw my energy. I'm looking at the top right. It shows Fire Flying. It's Talonflame. They're thinking, I can tank an Aerial Ace. Well, guess what, Talonflame? It's a Water Pulse. I'm able to make it to an Aerial Ace as well. This is going to be able to pick up the knockout. 1 Shadow Claw from the Feraligatr is going to be enough to knock out the Mantine, but I can send in the Whiscash, Mud Shot down, and take the win. Hopping into the next match, leading Mantine into Shadow Magnezone. This is so bad. I throw 1 wing attack and then switch, so I defer the Volt Switch damage onto my Goodra. In comes Hakamo'o, and I'm thinking that this very well could be the team that I myself featured a couple days back. I go for the Power Whip, as of course Power Whip is going to be the harder hitting move. They no-shield it, which now potentially gives me the ability to play for Switch, and I get Switch advantage. I'm very low, however, which means I think I'm going to get Volt Switch down, and I do not make the Aqua Tail. I send in the Whiscash. My opponent is going to fire off the Shadow Wild Charge. Wild Charge does so much damage, even when resisted. Whiscash continuing to farm, trying to get the farm down as they go for Wild Charge number 2. They're going to look to switch, and it is the team that I actually featured a couple days back. So they do have the Shadow Gligar, so winning switch advantage is definitely very nice, because Whiscash would have had to put in a massive amount of work in that end game, going up against the Magnezone and the Gligar. I bait with the Aerial Ace, and now I'm full sending the Water Pulse. I have a move loaded on my Whiscash, so I'm not going to bait twice. I'm just going to full send the Water Pulse here. Water Pulse, is going to connect. Opponent tries to call the bait, and despite the terrible lead, we take the win. The terrible leads are back. Oh my goodness. Mantine into Lantern. I save switch into Goodra. Opponent stays in for a little bit, and then they're going to send in Gligar. But they've given my Goodra a pretty big energy advantage, which I can hopefully use to make a play for switch advantage. I'm able to make it to a second Aqua Tail. They're going to have to commit a shield. I am expecting that my opponent is going to bait with the Aerial Ace and then go for the dig. So I'm going to let it through, but it's a mistake. They go for the dig. I'm trying for the farm down. It's a simul KO, and now it's a guessing game. If I guess wrong, it's Mantine on Lantern. I bring in the Whiscash. It's the Lantern, and I get the 50-50 call right. Honestly, I don't think there's a great science to getting those right. A lot of it is just trying to think, what would my opponent do in this moment? And luckily, I'm able to get it right in this match, because flipping switch advantage is everything. I'm able to win charge attack priority as they fire off the Surf. Surf, not going to be enough to knock out. I'm going to look to farm up to the back-to-back Mud Bombs. Opponent reads me like a book as they make a catch onto the Gallade. But Mud Bomb is still going to do a ton of damage. They actually commit the shield. I'm going to farm back up to 2 moves, send in the Mantine, and from here this should just be a 1 game. As Shadow Gallade is incredibly deadly, but without shields, unfortunately for my opponent, it's just getting KO'd here. So this Aerial Ace will be massive overkill to the Gallade. In comes the Lantern, and that's a rare sight. A Lantern into a Mantine, but it's the Lantern who concedes the match. Picking up a pretty okay lead in the next match, Mantine into the Shadow for Alligator. Definitely don't mind seeing this lead matchup. I go for the Aerial Ace. They're going to nose shield as always. They've overfarmed quite a lot, so we'll have to see, is it the Crunch or are they running Ice Beam? It is going to be the Crunch. The Crunch does get the debuff. That's a bit unfortunate. I will fire off the Aerial Ace. Opponent commits the shield. I'm going to switch into the Goodra. Opponent sends in Guzzlord. Guzzlord, oh boy. I'm firing off the Aqua Tail. I tried to throw just before they got there, but I believe that ended up being charge attack priority. This is tough. If I shield, I think I can farm down, and being able to get rid of this Guzzlord would be quite nice, and I do get the farm down. That is very clutch. In the back, they have Clodsire, and this should just be a win. The Aqua Tail going to do some solid damage. They will get a farm down, but now I have Whiscash for the Clodsire. Clodsire really cannot output a lot of damage here, so even if they full send the Earthquake, that's fine. They're going to do a combo play with the Feraligatr. This will do the most damage of anything, so I am going to shield, and then I can just send in the Mantine as this is my best fast attack pressure, get the Wing Attack farm down, back in comes the Clodsire, and I can just go straight for the Water Pulse. I'm expecting my opponent is going to try and call the Aerial Ace here, and the Water Pulse is going to connect, and we take that game. Moving to the next match, leading Mantine into Annihilate. Okay, great spot to be in. Opponent save switches Dugong, and I'm suddenly in a terrible spot to be in. This team has a weakness, and it is Dugong. If you don't see Dugong, this team can put in a nice amount of work. I continue to farm. Unfortunately, my game stutters. I should have been able to make that Aerial Ace before they threw this Icy Wind, but the game stutter means I am unable to do so. I bank energy on the Mantine, and I send in the Whiscash. Not an amazing spot to be in. I would have loved to get that energy off before I was debuffed, but unfortunately, the game said no. I'm debuffed, but this Mud Bomb will still deal a little bit of damage to the Dugong. Switch timer's up for the opponent. In comes the Annihilate. Annihilate will be met with the Scald. Scald, no shielded, does not get the debuff. Continuing to farm, going for the Scald. If this is the Night Slash, Night Slash will not KO here. I will be able to withstand this damage. The Night Slash does not KO, and I get to fire off the Scald. This Scald will get the Annihilate deep into the red. I switch into the Mantine. Mantine, oh, just cannot get the farm down. I did get the debuff, however, so this Night Slash not going to do a whole lot of damage. In comes the Dugong. They're throwing their energy right away, so it seems like they actually might be ABA weak to the Mantine. The fact that they sent back in the Dugong, we'll see. If they shield, they're definitely weak, and they do shield. Oh, this is actually not good. It seems that I need my Mantine to win this game, but my Mantine is so low. I'm able to make it to a third Aerial Ace. This is going to pick up the knockout. Let's see. What do they have in the back? In the back, it's a Jumpluff. I send in my poor Goodra, but look at my charge attacks. Aqua Tail and Power Whip, I have nothing to hit this Jumpluff. Jumpluff is running Aerial Ace, interestingly enough. Aerial Ace is extremely spammy, so they're going to be able to get to a lot of charge attacks in a hurry. I'm farming up with the Goodra, firing off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail not going to do a whole lot of damage, but at this point, it's a war of attrition. I need whatever damage I can get as I go for yet another Aqua Tail. If they get a farm down here, this is really, really rough. They're going to leave with the back-to-back moves. I'm going to send in the Mantine. I don't get the wing attack through. No, this is bad. This is so bad. They have back-to-back, so I do get the catch onto the Whiscash, and it all comes down to this. A race, Fairy Wind versus the wing attack. It ends in a tie, so if I didn't get denied on switching, that would have been a win. Moving to the next match, leading Mantine into Altaria. Now, this is a matchup where some might say, you know what? Ice Beam is needed on the Mantine, but Mantine actually wins the zeros versus Altaria straight Aerial Ace. And even though you don't have Ice Beam, the opponents don't necessarily know that, so I farm up to a potential Ice Beam. I'm able to grab a shield advantage from my opponent early in the match. And I'm expecting if they're leading Altaria, they're probably weak to Whiscash in the back. So my entire game plan is going to be save 2 shields for Whiscash, try and get my opponent as low as possible on the Altaria, and just let Whiscash sweep. I don't want to give them energy, so I send in the Goodra. They're able to make it to a move, and here, this is just a bit of a miscount. I thought they were short of the Mood Blast, but they definitely are not. In comes a Shadow Empoleon. Shadow Empoleon will make it to the move when I make it to my Mud Bomb because they had a 1 Steel Wing head start. So I'm going to commit a shield and look to overfarm massively. I overfarm until right before they make the move. Arguably, I should have thrown 1 Mud Shot sooner, so that way they couldn't shield and still get their energy off. But either way, I'm still going to do what I did right before I threw this most recent charge attack. Just overfarm as much as I can. I need energy everywhere if I'm going to try and win this game. The Altaria is very low. I can probably knock it out with a Scald. It all comes down to what my opponent has in the back. In the back, they have a Quagsire of all things. Very, very interesting. Okay, I go for the Scald. Fishing for the debuff. I do not get the debuff. I try and go for a catch on a Mantine. In comes Altaria. Altaria gets farmed down. I go for the Aerial Ace, but I lose charge attack priority. I'm low enough that even a double resisted Mud Bomb will KO. Back in comes the Whiscash. I don't think a Scald will KO. I'm going to commit to double Mud Bomb as my win con. Whiscash able to make it to the back-to-back. The question is, do they have a move? Mud Bomb connects. They do not have a move. Whiscash is able to make Mud Bomb number 2, KO the Quagsire, and take that game. Hopping into the next match, leading Mantine into Charge-a-Bug. Oh no. Again, I throw 1 wing attack, and I switch into the Goodra, so that way I'm able to defer that damage onto the Goodra, and I can have a little bit of extra energy on the Mantine for later. They send in a Powder Snow Shadow Alolan Sandslash. This is an opponent who is actually prepared for a Goodra save switch. A lot of people were unprepared for the Goodra save switch, and I was able to put in a nice amount of work. My opponent will fire off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to connect onto the Mantine. I go for the Water Pulse. Oh, they had the move. That's really unfortunate. I lose CMP. I do want some energy on the Mantine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undercharge the Water Pulse, hope that it doesn't KO, and it doesn't, and I'm able to get some farm. Okay. This is playable. They send in, oh my goodness, they send in the Charge-a-Bug. They were expecting me to switch instantly, but I was going to do the 1 wing attack and switch play. They try and over-predict. They send in the Poliwrath, and now maybe there is a win con. I commit the shield as, of course, my opponent does win CMP. I'm going for this Aerial Ace. Are they willing to shield? No. I throw a 1 wing attack. Again, I keep deferring Volt switches, so that way I can save energy on the Mantine. Going for the Scald. I need this debuff. The Scald gets shielded, and I do get the debuff. Okay, maybe there is a chance. This has been a really tough game so far, but my opponent, trying to anticipate the switch, may have opened a potential door to victory. I think in this moment, my win con is going for triple Mud Bomb. So I'm going to build up to the back-to-back Mud Bombs, and let's start firing off some energy. Mud Bomb is going to be shielded by my opponent. I'm going for Mud Bomb number 2. And I believe they're at the back-to-back moves here. And they are going to wait a turn to make sure that I don't catch. I believe I'm 3 off in Aerial Ace. So as long as I live a Volt Switch, I can win this game. I send in the Mantine. Mantine lives the Volt Switch. Oh, but I was 4 off, not 3. We come so close to overcoming Hard Counter City, but it's not to be. Moving into the next match, leading Mantine into another Charjabug. I saw so many electric leads today. Oh my goodness. I'm going to save switch into the Goodra. Goodra, my opponent is staying in here. They're staying in, and they're firing off an X-Scissor. That works out great for me. They're now going to send in Sableye. This is very okay. Goodra has the bulk where it's going to be very annoying for my opponent to try and farm down, and I can just continually apply pressure with Aqua Tails. I'm going for Aqua Tail number 2. Opponent kind of has to shield this, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They will get a big farm down. I send in the Mantine. Mantine gets the wing attack through as they fire off their move. The question is, are they able to get to a second foul play? Oh, they don't get a second move. In comes the Charjabug. Again, I'm going to throw 1 and defer that Volt Switch damage, so that way, again, as we've seen a couple times, I'm able to get a little bit of energy on Mantine, but not take the double super effective damage because the Volt Switch damage registers onto my Whiscash. And in the back, oh, they're running a team ABA weak to the Whiscash. Oh, this Scald does so much damage and gets the debuff. I'm going for Scald number 2. They commit the shield and a second debuff. I'm not going to shield anything now, even if it is the beam. And it is the beam. Respect to the opponent. You gotta love the moveset choice. I'll overfarm, go for the Scald. This will be able to pick up the knockout. And then all that's left is that Charjabug. The Charjabug still very healthy. I will go for the Mud Bomb to put it into a potential range where a Water Pulse can KO, and I send in the Mantine. Honestly, at this range, even an Aerial Ace probably would have KO'd, but may as well show them that I have it. We Water Pulse, KO the Charjabug, and take the win. Despite some incredibly tough leads, leading Mantine into so many electric types, I was able to go very positive with the team. Granted, it's still early days in the season, but I believe my record in these 4 sets was 13, 6, and 1. So I did have the 1 tie, but overall, very, very positive with the team. So I do think this is a really nice team if you are looking to climb and gain some, well, I was going to say gain some ELO, but we don't have ELO yet this season. But it should be a very good team for looking to rank up, and I think Water Pulse on Mantine is tremendous. Mantine, before it had Water Pulse, if you were running Aerial Ace and Ice Beam, it could lose the 2s to Skeledirge. A Water type losing the 2s to a Fire type. But having that Water Pulse can help it neutrally, helps in those steel matchups like going up against the Alolan Sandslash. Overall, I do expect Water Pulse to become a lot more common on Mantine. Some people may still prefer Ice Beam, but personally, I think Water Pulse is quite a bit better. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.